In the dim vaults of forgotten history, one voice echoed eternal: Alpha Trion. Orion Pax listened, and Optimus Prime was born. Forever chained to a destiny unspoken, the weight of a mentor's shadow. Deep within the labyrinthine archives of Iacon, where the bones of Cybertron's history lay buried under layers of encrypted data slates, a young archivist named Orion Pax first encountered the weight of eternity. He was no warrior then, no gleaming prime forged in the fires of destiny, but a seeker, his spark humming with the quiet fire of unquenched curiosity. The air thrummed with the low pulse of ancient energon conduits, veins of lifeblood sustaining the great library that guarded Cybertron's soul. It was here, amid towering stacks of mnemonic crystals that whispered secrets of the 13 primes, that Alpha Trion emerged from the gloom like a specter of myth made manifest. Alpha Trion was no mere custodian. He was the living repository of Cybertron's dawn, his frame etched with the scars of eons runes from the Age of Primes, glowing faintly on his chassis, each one a testament to battles lost and legacies forged. His optics, twin voids of accumulated wisdom, fixed upon Orion with an intensity that pierced the Archivist's core. Knowledge is not a shield, Orion Trion intoned, his voice a resonant baritone that seemed to vibrate through the very metal floors. It is a blade. Wield it poorly, and it cuts the wielder first. In that moment, the seed was planted, not of rebellion or glory, but of an insatiable hunger for truth, amid the creeping rot of senatorial decay. Orion Pax had toiled in obscurity, cataloging the detritus of a decaying world. Manifests of gladiatorial excesses on distant moons, whispers of energon shortages masked by propaganda, the faint echoes of Megatron's manifesto toward peace smuggled into the archives like contraband fire. But Trion saw beyond the drudgery. He discerned the spark of potential, the unpolished alloy that could one day bear the matrix of leadership. Subtly, with the precision of a master sculptor, Trion began to shape him. Late cycles blurred into endless dialogues, dissecting the fall of Sentinel Prime, unraveling the mythic threads of Primus versus Unicron, probing the fragile balance of justice in a society teetering on tyranny. Yet beneath this mentorship lurked an unspoken gravity. Trion's guidance was laced with hints of prophecy, veiled references to the one who would rise from the stacks to mend the fractured Allspark. Orion felt it a subtle pressure, like the inexorable pull of a black hole on a fragile starship. Was this mere intellectual camaraderie, or the forging of a vessel for destinies long foretold? Trion never spoke it outright. His silences were the true teachers, heavy with expectation. Orion's queries grew bolder, his frame straightening under the Archivist's gaze, as if each nod from Trion etched new circuits of resolve into his protoform. The critical fracture came in the shadow of revolution. Megatron's uprising scorched Kaon, energon bombs raining like judgment from fractured skies. Orion, now entangled with the Gladiator's broadcasts, stood at a precipice. Trion's chamber door hissed open one final time. "The archives burn, Orion," the Elder intoned, his voice cracking with rare urgency. But truth endures in the carrier. In that crucible, Orion Pax shed his name like rusted plating. The Matrix, ancient artifact of Primus himself, ignited within him, guided by Trion's unseen hand. Optimus Prime awoke, not as a conqueror, but as a guardian burdened by the psychological forge of his mentor's shadow. This bond was no accident of fate. It was the quiet architecture of heroism, where curiosity birthed justice, and a mentor's whisper became the roar of legend. But as Optimus stepped into the maelstrom of the Great War, did he carry Trion's wisdom, or its chains? The burden of an ancient legacy. As the Great War's flames licked the spires of Iacon, Optimus Prime, freshly forged in the Matrix's searing light, felt the first true crush of inheritance. Alpha Trion had not merely taught him, he had downloaded the cosmos itself into the young Prime's spark. For Trion was no ordinary mentor. He was the last echo of Cybertron's genesis, a Prime, in all but name, bearer of prophecies etched into the well of all sparks before the first energon flowed. In the shadowed alcoves of the archives, amidst the acrid smoke of Megatron's advancing legions, Trion unveiled fragments of this burden, not as tales, but as living wounds upon his own chassis. Imagine the weight. Eons ago, when Primus shaped the Cybertronian race from raw protomatter, Alpha Trion stood among the 13, chronicler of their light and hubris. He witnessed Solus Prime's ingenuity, forged the Star Saber from a dying star's heart. He inscribed the fall of the fallen, that treacherous brother who knelt before Unicron, trading brotherhood for chaos. Legacy is not glory, Optimus, Trion murmured one cycle, as Decepticon artillery shook the vaulted ceilings. It is the echo of choices that reverberate through infinity. His frame bore the proof fissures from the quantum surge. When time itself fractured under Unicron's hunger, runes scarred by the dark energon plagues that twisted sparks into abominations. These were not scars of battle, but of stewardship, the psychic toll of safeguarding histories that could unmake worlds. Optimus absorbed it all, his strategic core recalibrating with every revelation. Trion's knowledge reshaped him. Where once Orion Pax pondered isolated injustices, the rigged gladiatorial pits of Kaon, the senatorial purges of data casts, now Optimus saw the grand weave. Cybertron's moral compass, forged in the Prime's covenant, demanded balance. Trion dissected it ruthlessly. Sentinel Zeta Prime's paranoia birthed isolationism, echoing the Fallen's betrayal. Nominus Prime's pacifism invited Megatron's rise, a mirror to ancient hubris. Leaders do not command fate. Trion impressed upon him. Optics flaring with the fire of forgotten wars, they wrestle it into submission. Optimus's decisions crystallized, deploying Autobot scouts not as blunt force, but as threads in Primus's tapestry, preserving life amid annihilation. Yet this inheritance carried a subtler venom. Psychological pressure, insidious as leaking energon. Trion's presence loomed like an unspoken judgment. In council chambers amid the exodus to Earth, as Optimus debated the Allsparks relocation, Trion's holographic echo would flicker unbidden courtesy of embedded subroutines in the Matrix. The Primes faltered by choice, not chance. It would intone, forcing Optimus to question every order. Was his caution in sparing Soundwave's cassettes mercy, or the hesitance of one haunted by prophetic failures? Megatron's taunts in the Battle of Tiger Pax. You archive your defeats, like your fossil mentor, struck deeper because they rang true. Trion's wisdom instilled a burdened foresight. Victories were fleeting. True leadership meant carrying the ghosts of what might have been. Flash to the Simanzi massacre, drawn from Trion's forbidden codices. Optimus, leading a desperate stand against Overlord's forces, hesitated, echoing Trion's recount of Micronus Prime's sacrifice to seal a dark energon rift. Sacrifice is the currency of preservation, Trion had said, his voice heavy with personal loss. Optimus mirrored it, venting his own life force to shield his troops, his frame buckling under energon starvation. In that agony, the mentor's shadow deepened. Regret mingled with resolve, a moral compass calibrated to endure the unendurable. Trion's historical weight forged Optimus's strategies. Guerrilla feints, inspired by the Primes' Shadow Wars. Alliances with neutral castes echoing ancient pacts against Unicron. But the true torment lay in the unspoken transfer. Trion passed not just knowledge, but the existential dread of stewardship. Optimus's optics, once bright with Orion's curiosity, now dimmed with the gravity of ages. In quiet moments on Earth's rusting battlefields, he'd trace the Matrix's facets, feeling Trion's essence pulse within like a father's unyielding hand on his shoulder. Did this legacy elevate him or erode him? Power struggles raged. Starscream's treachery in the skies of Velocitron paled against the internal war Optimus waged, forever measuring his spark against the 13's mythic standard. As Decepticon hordes closed on the Autobot remnants, Trion's final transmission crackled through the ether. "You are the archive now, Optimus. Bear it unbroken." The Prime straightened, his voice stealing over comms. "Autobots, we fight not for conquest, but for the continuity of all sparks." Yet, in his core, the burden gnawed a psychological forge, hammering justice from doubt, legacy from loss. Trion's ancient weight had transformed curiosity into caution, heroism into haunted vigilance, moral compass and sacrificial leadership. In the crucible of endless war, where energon rivers ran red and sparks extinguished like dying stars, Optimus Prime's moral compass, forged in Alpha Trion's unyielding teachings, became both anchor and noose. Trion had instilled it not through sermons, but through parables, etched in history's blood. The Covenant of Primus, binding all Cybertronians to protect the fragile spark of life, no matter the cost. Duty is the silence before the storm, Trion had whispered during their final archived vigil, as Decepticon siege engines battered Iacon's gates. Sacrifice is the thunder that follows. Optimus internalized it. His every command, a reflection of this stoic creed, turning personal torment into unbreakable resolve. Witness the forests of Earth, where Optimus first confronted Megatron post-exile. Bumblebee lay crippled, his vocalizer shredded, a young scout spark flickering on Oblivion's edge. Trion's echo surged through the Matrix. Tales of Liège. Maximo's betrayal, where selfishness shattered the 13. Optimus could have ended Megatron, then avenged countless fallen with a single plasma blast to the fusion cannon. Instead, he knelt in the mud, shielding the wounded, his voice a gravelly oath. Freedom is the right of all sentient beings. This selflessness mirrored Trion's own shadowed acts, chronicled in forbidden tomes, where the Archivist had vented his reserves to power evacuation protocols during the quantum surge, saving data casts at the expense of his prime functions. Optimus endured similar crucibles. On the scorched plains of Tiger Pax, he bore the brunt of Shockwave's cyclotronic barrage, his armor melting to buy ratchet seconds for the wounded. Trion's resilience was no myth. It was etched in his frame's microfractures, remnants of shielding the Allspark from dark energon, corruption in the age of rust. He taught Optimus through demonstration. Endure, adapt, never falter. Flash to Mission City, skyscrapers crumbling under Devastator's fury. Optimus, trailer axles shattered, dragged himself through debris. Optic locked on Sam Witwicky's fragile form. "I will not fail you," he rasped, invoking Trion's maxim on duty's cost. The Mentor's influence calcified here. Optimus's dedication to all life, Autobot or human, stemmed from Trion's dissection of Cybertronian exceptionalism. Primus birthed us equal in spark, Trion had decreed. Countering Megatron's supremacy rhetoric rooted in Toward Peace's twisted evolutionism, moral dilemmas tested this compass relentlessly. During the Unicron incursion on Cybertron's ruins, Optimus faced the heresy of the fallen Trion's ancient foe, whose sacrificial betrayal to chaos haunted every Prime. The Fallen tempted, "Join me, vessel of the Matrix, and end the cycle." Optimus's refusal echoed Trion's resilience, but at what price? He sundered his own arm to sever the dark energon tether, his system screaming overload, guilt flooding his processors for every Autobot lost to the chaos. Trion's teachings framed it as necessity. Sacrifice preserves the whole, yet psychologically, it scarred Optimus's nightmares. Replayed Trion's Codex visions, blurring Mentor's endurance with his own mounting toll. Instances abound where this bond shone through cataclysm. In the depths of Darkmount, facing Soundwave's unblinking loyalty, Optimus spared the Spy Master, discerning the glitched spark beneath Decepticon programming, a mercy Trion had shown rogue data clerks in Iacon's purges. Justice weighs the potential for redemption, Trion intoned in memory files. Optimus's leadership style crystallized. Cautious offensives prioritizing evacuation, like the Ark's desperate launch, where he manually overrode failing engines, his frame fusing to consoles in selfless immolation. Hardship piled energon deprivation on prehistoric Earth, betrayal by Sentinel Prime in Dark of the Moon. Yet, he never faltered. Trion's stoicism, a firewall against despair. The depth of this influence revealed itself in quiet fractures. Post-Chicago, alone amid human wreckage, Optimus communed with the Matrix, Trion's hologram manifesting unbidden. "You bear it as I did," the Elder affirmed, his form glitching from energon flux. Optimus's response, a silent nod, belied the turmoil. Unwavering dedication masked a spark weary from perpetual loss. Moral compass intact, but leadership laced with sacrificial hunger, he pressed on, protecting life at personal annihilation's edge. This was Trion's true legacy. Not victory, but the will to outlast oblivion. Optimus's selflessness wasn't innate heroism. It was psychological imprint, a mentor's creed weaponized against war's entropy. Yet as bodies mounted Jazz, Ironhide, Cliffjumper did the compass point true, or merely toward endless atonement. The unspoken expectations in Prime's path, amid the ceaseless grind of the Great War, where every dawn brought fresh energon-scorched horizons, Optimus Prime navigated not just battlefields, but the labyrinth of his own psyche, haunted by Alpha Trion's unspoken expectations. These were no overt commands, no barked edicts from the archives. They were subtler, woven into silences, fleeting optic flares, the weight of a nod or withheld affirmation. Trion, eternal observer of Prime's rises and falls, had molded Orion Pax with precision, imprinting a leadership style cautious to the point of torment, burdened by the imperative to surpass mythic forebears. In the dim glow of the Matrix, Optimus felt it perpetually. The mentor's gaze, appraising, expectant, eternal. Subtle influences permeated his command. During the assault on the Nemesis, as Soundwave's data mines ensnared Autobot signals, Optimus hesitated. Processors flooded with Trion's archived simulations of Sentinel Prime's hubris-fueled charge at Polyhex. A silent disapproval echoed. Rash action births regret. He recalibrated, opting for surgical strikes over annihilation, preserving neutral vessels amid the debris. Trion's quiet approval manifested as a matrix warmth, reinforcing the path. Yet this psychological tether bred caution's curse. Allies whispered of the Prime's Archivist timidity, Megatron mocking it as Orion's ghost-whispering retreat. In truth, it stemmed from Trion's historical lens dissections. A Vector Prime's isolationist vigilance, warning against overreach that invited Unicron's voids. Decision-making bore the scars deepest. On Velocitron's Speedway ruins, facing Starscream's aerial supremacy, Optimus bypassed a killing shot, sensing redemption's faint spark glimmer, an echo of Trion's mercy toward wayward scribes in Iacon's underlevels. The cost? Wheeljack's capture, tortured for schematics. Guilt corroded his circuits that cycle, alone in command stasis. Did Trion's wisdom demand such loss? The mentor's unspoken metric loomed approval in preserved lives, disapproval in squandered potential. This dynamic shaped his style. Deliberative councils over solo heroism, echoing Trion's archival consensus building. Earth campaigns reflected it, coordinating with Nest humans not as subordinates, but partners, wary of Cybertronian exceptionalism that felled past primes. The weight intensified with Trion's enduring presence. Even post-Iacon's fall, subroutines lingered, holographic interventions during low-energon vigils. History judges the measured spark. Trion projected during the Decepticon occupation of Chicago. As Optimus weighed scorched Earth countermeasures, the Prime's path veered conservative evacuations. Prioritized, counterstrikes phased, burdened by visions of Nova Prime's aggressive purge, which Trion decried as the sin of haste. Psychologically, it fractured him. Resolve hardened, but paranoia crept. Optics, scanning ranks for disloyalty, akin to ancient betrayals. Megatron exploited it, broadcasting taunts laced with toward peace rhetoric. Your fossil mentor chains you to failure. Perceived historical knowledge amplified the strain. Trion's codices flooded Optimus. With futures glimpsed Unicron's return. The Beast Wars' temporal scars, instilling a cautious fatalism. In the quantum assembly's collapse, he sacrificed forward momentum to salvage relic data pods, mirroring Trion's archival zeal. Allies like Ultra Magnus chafed. Strike now, Prime! But Optimus's retort carried Trion's gravitas. Victory without wisdom is prelude to defeat. This unspoken understanding bound them mentor and protege across voids of time, yet isolated Optimus. His leadership a solitary vigil under expectation's yoke, flashed to the Matrix's core communion. Post-Fallen's defeat, Trion's essence coalesced. You walk the path I illuminated, yet shadows lengthen. Optimus's query hung unvoiced. Am I enough? The silence affirmed the burden cautious. Yes, but forged for endurance. As Decepticons regrouped on Cybertron's husk, Optimus stood resolute. Path defined by this psychological scaffold. Measured steps amid chaos, legacy's weight transmuted into unyielding purpose. Yet whispers persisted. Did Trion's shadow elevate the Prime, or eclipse him? Alpha Trion's enduring echo. As the Great War's embers cooled on a scarred Cybertron, Alpha Trion's ultimate act etched permanence into Optimus Prime's spark. A sacrifice that transcended death, reinforcing the bonds of duty and deepening the psychological chasm of responsibility. In the heart of Iacon's reborn vaults, amid the hum of reactivated energon forges, Trion faced annihilation, not with fanfare, but quiet inevitability. Decepticon remnants, driven by Tarn's functionist zealots from the DJD's shadowed fringes, breached the archives, seeking the final codices of Primus. Trion stood sentinel, his ancient frame interfacing directly with the well of all sparks, channeling its raw quintessence to seal the breach. The archive endures. He transmitted to Optimus across light years, his voice fracturing as systems overloaded. In that blaze of light, Trion poured his essence into the Matrix, a final download, selfless as the Prime's dawn. This act was no mere transmission. It was affirmation, a mentor's last lesson in sacrificial leadership. Optimus, locked in orbit battle against Galvatron's horde, felt it surge. Trion's memories flooding his core visions of the 13's covenant, the Fallen's regretful wail in Unicron's gut, the fragile hope of spark rebirth. Reinforced commitment ignited. Optimus rallied, faltering Autobots with renewed fury, his commands laced with Trion's unyielding clarity. We rebuild, not for ourselves, he broadcast, but for the continuity he preserved. The psychological imprint deepened. Loss transmuted to purpose. Trion's passing a forge, hammering doubt into diamond resolve. No longer shadow, but integrated light guiding Optimus through post-war reconstruction, tempering alliances with wary ex-Decepticons, like reformed Soundwave. Lingering effects haunted long after. On a pacified Earth, Optimus wandered human memorials, Trion's echoes surfacing in meditative stasis. Sacrifice begets legacy. Guilt lingered for every Ironhide lost, every bumblebee silenced, mirroring Trion's unspoken regrets over failed primes. Yet, it fueled commitment. Optimus championed the Tyrest Accords, integrating neutral castes, his moral compass once burdened, now a beacon. Instances abounded, mediating Megatron's atonement in the War Within Echoes, sparing Starscream's glitched redemption arc. Trion's stoicism echoed in these: endurance amid betrayal, justice through mercy, even in solitude. The bond defined him. Cybertron's renewal saw Optimus inscribe new archives. Trion's runes, adorning the halls a psychological talisman against isolation. Teachings permeated. To Optimus Prime, he imparted, wisdom is the mentor within, passing the echo forward. Profound impact crystallized in quiet moments gazing at twin moons. Optimus felt Trion's presence, not as chain, but companion. Leadership evolved, cautious yet bold, burdened yet liberated, forever shaped by the Archivist's selfless core. This unspoken bond, from Orion's curiosity to Optimus's guardianship, wove through war's tapestry. Alpha Trion's sacrifice didn't end the story. It authored the next chapter, his echo the heartbeat of Cybertron's rebirth. Optimus Prime's path, defined by justice's weight, sacrifice's fire stands eternal testament. But in the silence of rebuilt worlds, as new primes rise and old wars fade to lore, if a mentor's echo can redefine a universe, what shadows still linger in your own spark? Who guides the Guardian when the archives fall silent?